Hello everybody and a very warm welcome to a new Sirdar Crochet Along. My name is Lindsey from Lottie and Albert and I'm the designer of the new blanket, the Christmas gingerbread blanket that we are going to be making along with you over the course of 6 weeks. It's starting very soon, and so we just wanted to take a little bit of time to create a video explaining a bit more about the Crochet Along, about the blanket, and so that I can get to know you all and you can get to know me a little bit better. We can talk about my design inspiration and maybe a little bit about Christmas as well as we move towards what I think is quite an exciting time of year, and to give you everything you need to know about starting the blanket make along with us. So if you have done a crochet along with Sirdar before, and if you did the Blossom and Bud Spring Cowl, you may recognize me because I was also the designer of the spring blanket, and I'm super thrilled that Sirdar have asked me to come back this Christmas and to design something really festive for you. Having the opportunity to create a blanket that is going to have such a super special place in your home and in your calendar, that's going to come out year after year, is such a privilege to be asked to create and design. And so I was really excited to put this together. My design background is really sort of modern, quite bright and fun crochet. So I like to think of this as a modern heirloom blanket. We've got a lot of our traditional Christmas inspiration with our reds and our greens, which was in my brief, but I like to think we've put a little bit of a modern twist on it as well, with some really lovely colours and some sort of fresh pastels thrown into the mix as well. So I've been working as a crochet designer for around 5 years now as a full-time job. Before that, it was very much a hobby, and probably like a lot of people, I learnt by teaching myself online. I'd always done a lot of crafts, but funnily enough, crochet was one of the ones I hadn't tried. So when a group of friends got together and we decided to learn and teach ourselves online, I try not to use a silly saying, but I was just hooked, and it's been a really big part of my life. Even before I turned it into a job, I quickly found it to be the hobby that I turned to again and again. I just found it really relaxing. Prior to crochet, I did a lot of sewing, but after having young children, I also found it's quite a hassle to get the sewing machine out every time, whereas crochet can be a lot more easily sort of shoved down the side of the sofa and then pulled out again without too much damage to itself. So I think because of that and how easily it fit in with my life, crochet became a big part of, and my main hobby for that reason as well. And there's something I think that's quite nice in that way about making a blanket over 6 weeks, because we are doing it slowly and we're building on the previous weeks. We can pop it down the side of the sofa. Maybe we won't shove it this time, maybe we'll fold it in a nice basket, but we can pick it up as and when we need to. It's that little bit of a relaxing hour in the evening where you have a bit of time just for you. I know that's why I love crochet, and so I imagine that's the same for a lot of you. And something like a cowl, a crochet along, where we're all doing the same thing together, it just ties really nicely into my experience of crochet. So I hope you enjoy making along with this blanket with me as well. The design inspiration for me for the blanket very much started out with the colour palette. So we knew we wanted traditional reds and greens, but with a bit of a Lottie and Albert twist, with some more pastel and a few brighter colours too. So we started our base with our emerald green, which is the darker green, and also the ladybird red, which is just the cutest name for a red colour. And then adding in a bit more of a pastel, we also then added our gentle jade. And just to have a little bit more of a brighter pop, we added in our tomato red. So with our reds and greens chosen, I knew I wanted a lot of a calmer colour across the whole of the blanket, just to create us with a nice base, because I think a calm base with then fun pops of colour on top is a really impactful way to sort of build up colour without it feeling too overwhelming. So we've got 3 balls of the cream in this one. And as I said, that just forms that perfect, almost blank slate. We're not white, we're cream, so it, a blank slate to do the pops of colour on top of. I personally also really love a pink and red colour combination, and I think that can still work really nicely for Christmas. Think of your candy canes and all your sweets. So we had to bring in some pinks. We brought in this colour, which is just called pink, and this really pale pink called peaches. And from a design layout, this is a really interesting one because actually put with some colours, it can look quite white, but paired with the other pinks or next to a red, it really brings out just the softness of the tone. So that's a really lovely one to work with too. And then, of course, if you did make the last blanket, or if you watched the introduction video for the Spring Blossom and Buds Crochet Along, you may have heard me talking about how much I love the colour mustard. We weren't sure if golden or mustard was going to work on a Christmas blanket, but then actually that led me to the really core foundational principle for the blanket, because of course it's our gingerbread. And a gingerbread at Christmas, I'm not much of a baker, but it is often the one thing that I do manage to do with my kids. Sometimes we might buy the kits where the gingerbread is already made, but it's still a really fun activity for us. We always decorate the gingerbread. The kids always take the approach of absolutely covering it in as many sweets as possible, which I'm not sure is the same approach that I take. I quite like to place it all neatly in nice little lines, but either way, it is one of the only sort of baking traditions, close to baking traditions, that we actually seem to manage in our house. So again, for me personally, it just seemed like a really lovely thing to bring in as quite a feature in our blanket. And then finally, we've got one other colour. At one point we were leaning towards a dark blue, but actually as soon as the bright lemon was suggested, it made total sense. And when you see how it's used in the blanket, it doesn't occupy any great swath of space, but it's just used as little gumdrops, as little sweeties, as a few bright lights dotted around our blanket. And I really think it just lifts it and provides that really fun pop of yellow, maybe slightly unexpected, but I think it really works, especially with our sort of gingerbread sweetie theme that we went for. So there we have it. That's all the colours. There's 15 of them in total, and they're all included in the official yarn packs. So in order to join in the blanket, if you want to grab one of those, you've still got time to do so. And it just allows us to all make exactly the same blanket and to achieve the same impact and to use the colours in the way that we've planned them out and inspired the blanket for me. So after choosing our colour palette and having that idea for the gingerbread inspiration, I moved on to the actual layout of the blanket. So again, we wanted a design that would build on itself week by week. And although in terms of running order, we do make some pieces and then come back round and join them together, we start with our star of the show with our gingerbread house, and as I said, my justification for including golden in the blanket. We're then moving out to lots of other panels inspired by different elements of Christmas. So we have our Christmas lights that of course we would decorate our trees with, or you might decorate your house with. And there's a little bit of a vintage nod overall with the blanket. I was quite inspired by food packaging. After I went down the sort of gingerbread route, I was then looking at biscuit tins that you might only bring out at Christmas, maybe one that your granny has and it comes out year after year. She always used to put mince pies in it. Those old roses boxes. There's something really, I love that slightly vintage twist. So we have that a little bit with our lights, particularly with the green string that holds them all together. It's that nod to the vintage fairy lights. And then we have a couple of panels which are inspired by Christmas jumpers. I think that being a crocheter, maybe a Christmas jumper is not something I've actually made in the past, but I'd really like to, and I quite like the knitted yokes that you often see, the Fair Isle inspiration. So that's what we were going with for some of our panels bringing in a bit of that Christmas jumper fun, a mix of stitches that you would see all sort of next to each other on a jumper. And then again, we've got our sweetie references. So we've got candy canes, we've got peppermint swirls, and we've got some more gingerbread decorated with sweeties. So individually, there's a lot of elements we're bringing together, but I think because we started with that colour palette as the design inspiration, it all really holds itself together and balances out across the whole of the blanket for that really modern heirloom piece that I wanted to create. And I'm really excited to hopefully see in all of your homes as we move forward through the 6 weeks. So what is a crochet along? Well, a crochet along, or a CAL, as you'll sometimes see it abbreviated, is really just an excuse for us to all make along together. Typically, like ours is, they're split across several weeks. So our blanket is split across 6 weeks. And it means that when you join in, if you're joining in right from the beginning, the patterns will be released in stages over 6 weeks, so that each week you receive your pattern, you can get started, we can work through together. Each stage in our crochet along has got both a written pattern, and a couple of the weeks have got charts or accompanying illustrations if they need them. But importantly, each one has already got a video. And that brings us to the sort of next most commonly asked question, which is, who is the crochet along for? Well, it's for anybody really who fancies giving crochet a go. If you are more of a beginner, I think it's a really great way to have quite a comprehensive introduction to crochet, and particularly because we've got those videos, beginners are more than welcome and also encouraged. We start super slowly with the stitches, we build on them week by week, so we're kind of adding to a toolkit as we introduce new stitches. We learn to work back and forth in rows, we learn to change colour together, and then we learn to work around in rounds. We will learn loads of different techniques, and that's the beauty and also part of the design of the blanket. Each week we might repeat some of the stitches that we've learnt and that we're building on, but we also tend to build in and bring in a new skill or technique each week too. So if you are a beginner, it's definitely available and accessible to you, and if you're a more experienced crocheter, you probably already know the drill, but there's definitely something in here for you too. You might just find it that bit more easy and relaxing, and hey, that's not a bad thing in my book either. So how do you join in? Well, the pattern is completely free. You'll need to sign up at Sirdar.com, and if you're doing so before the CAL starts and seeing this video, then as soon as you sign up, you'll automatically then get each video in your inbox. You'll also need to get your hands on one of our official yarn packs, which will have the 15 balls of yarn and everyone that you need. And you can pick those up from wherever you would normally buy your Sirdar yarn from your favourite stockist. You'll also need a 4mm crochet hook and just a couple of things like a tape measure, pair of scissors, things that you've probably already got in your craft kit. Along with the yarn pack, you'll also receive your label, which will commemorate your CAL and you can sew onto your blanket when we're finished. And you'll also receive a few accessories that you need to get making. So as a reminder, you need to grab your yarn pack from your favourite Sirdar stockist. You need to sign up for the patterns. So you can sign up at Sirdar.com, and then it means that the patterns will automatically end up in your inbox as and when they are released over the 6 weeks. We also have a really great Facebook group if you would like to join us there, called the Sirdar Make Along. It's not essential, but actually for a lot of our past CAL participants, we found it to be a really key part of the experience. I think there's a real community element with a crochet along. It's something that is lovely to do. And while we do have a lot of people who might make along with a friend or a family member or a local group. For a lot of us, we are just making along online. And so actually that online community can form a really nice community and a really nice part of the experience of the Crochet Along as well. And if you're worried about keeping up, the group is not about that at all. It's more of a space to share pictures. There's quite a lot of funny pet ones that end up coming in. One of my favourites last time was a lady who had to use her yarn ball upside down because she had a new puppy who kept getting in. So it's just a nice space to share pictures and updates. So there's an option for you to join us there as well and get chatting and meeting other makers who are crocheting along at the same time. So if you were watching this video and you're still on the fence about joining in, this is your sign. We're going to have a really great 6 weeks working along together. We're going to get more and more festive also, I feel, as we go through the weeks. And if nothing else, it's just an excuse as it gets colder to have that time for yourself every evening or every weekend to cozy up on the sofa with some crochet, make something super festive for you or a family member or friend, and also then to have something which you can bring out year after year to remind yourself of this special Christmas that we spent working together on the blanket. I can't wait to see you when the Crochet Along starts. You hopefully now know everything about how to join, what it's about, who it's for, which is you, and we are going to get making very soon. I'll see you back here for week 1 and the how-to videos where we'll walk through everything together and we'll start building our skills and making our blanket together. As a final recap, in order to join in, you're going to want to head to sirdar.com, sign up for the free patterns. You also want to get your 15 balls of yarn in your official yarn pack from your favourite Sirdar stockist. And you can also give me, Lottie and Albert, and Knit Sirdar a follow on Instagram and on Facebook so you can keep up with all our updates. But if you're signed up for those emails, then you'll get them straight into your inbox. So you don't need to worry once you've done that part. And that is how you're going to join me and all the other makers as we crochet along over the next 6 weeks together. I can't wait to see you back here soon for week 1.